Is this the world's coolest Barra conversion? We're about to find out. So here with Leigh Walker from Pro Street Development. Now mate, this would have to be the wildest Barra conversion ever. Certainly not a 2K build, is it?
No, it's definitely not. So something a little bit unique and different.
Tell us about the car. A lot of people won't even know what this is.
2000 model Ultima GTR.
Yeah.
So English base UK.
Yeah.
I suppose most people would call them a kit car. They're sort of more of a low volume.
I remember when this car was on Top Gear.
Yep. Yeah.
Years
Did get
ago.
all the records and everything.
Yeah.
Back then.
Sounded wicked.
Still think one of them holds the 0 to 300 and stop record.
Yeah, yeah. So these had a Windsor in them? Is that what
this one had a Windsor in it because it was built by Dick Johnson Motorsport. So obviously with the Ford base, that's why they had the Windsors in them. This is one of 3 cars built by them, I think. Someone will probably correct me that there might have been more. I think 2 blue ones and 1 silver.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just something different. Always loved them. Always wanted to get one.
So you said earlier you bought it damaged?
Yeah, I did buy the car damaged. It's definitely the only way I'd be affording to buy one. I sort of saw the car originally on Just Cars, the cover, when I was about 17 or 18 years old in 2000 when it came out. And said one day I'm going to have that car, and it turns out actually this is the car that came up. I did see it for sale come up on eBay. And then I found the guy that actually purchased the car, and for some reason he probably wanted to pull out of the project, so I ended up being able to get it. Yeah, had a small block Ford, Windsor, Porsche G50 gearbox. I did repair it. It needed a lot of the chassis needed fixing. All the control arms were bent. Yeah, so it had hit a wall side on, like dead side on. So wrecked all the wheels. I did replace everything, repaired everything, got it driving. I wanted an automatic. I was set with that because I got metal feet.
Let's fast forward, pull this off and see what you got going on under here. Wow, quite the project.
Obviously just a dummy motor for it. It's a Aeroflow 88mm.
So the big question most people are asking is how are you going to get the drive back to the...
via a transfer case.
Yep.
So on the back of the motor, front of the car for this.
Front of the car.
It's got a gear driven, straight cut gear, wet bath, 4 gears because we needed reverse rotation. Obviously with the engine sitting backwards, need to drive the gearbox the other way. So a straight cut gearbox, 4 gears on the front. It is in a wet bath. Gears are being made at the moment. Yeah. About 35mm wide.
I think if we come around the other side, you can sort of see a bit more here.
So a red case, 2-speed. I figured I'd just do the bars like that on the front with an external converter. No point in putting a bell housing on it.
No.
Don't have to.
No, you don't have to. And then obviously...
the starter motor drive is up in the back of the thing, just in the original location.
So this is a bit like I guess a drag racing setup, isn't it, in the back?
Yeah, essentially. Yep, parallel 4-link. We obviously build a lot of diff housings ourselves here at the shop, so it's a little bit different to our normal one. It's offset, like the whole center itself is actually offset in the car.
Yep, you can see that here.
Billet Watts linkage setup that we do.
A lot of people are saying you're going to wreck the car by putting this big heavy engine in it, but at the end of the day, like you said, you've built this to be just fast, yeah? It's not...
Yeah, and cruise. Look, I didn't want to go and circuit race the car. I was never interested in circuit racing. I more wanted to build the car something different. I like stepping outside of the comfort zone of what normal people would build.
And this is going to be under 1 tonne?
It'll be definitely under 1 tonne,
yep.
The old setup was about 940 kilos with an iron block, small block Ford, Porsche gearbox. Most of the body is going to be carbon fibre on it.
So you've had to make all this yourself, the bodywork. You're saying the front's actually wood?
Yeah, it's a bit of everything. It's wood, plaster, bog. There's probably, there's all sorts of things in that. So.
And keeping with the Ford theme, the headlights?
See who can pick that on a video.
Oh, they suit it.
Well, I sort of figured why spend all that time making something if you can find a good base to start with for the headlight buckets? Made sense to me. Again, thinking outside of the square.
This is essentially your mould?
Yep, so this is the mould. It's nearly blocked down. I've had my friend Scott, he's been working on this for quite a few weeks, sanding it, getting it all ready. This is actually solid, like,
yeah,
solid. There's a lot of different materials in that, so that'll be producing the mould, and then obviously once the mould's made, and then we're going to do carbon fibre, flop all the body. So all the front will be carbon, be a carbon splitter on the front. Same, all the side panels we've been making.
Can you buy any parts for these?
You can, but very expensive.
Yeah.
There is a new model out of an Ultima RS that they're doing now. They won't sell you, you can't buy parts of the new RS to fit an earlier GTR model. Very basic, no frills. I just want it to mean all business.
So this is going to be fully engineered, yeah?
Yep. I did actually, it's another reason I did buy the car as a smash car, because the car actually has full compliance on it. So that is a big part of it.
Give us a bit more info on the Plenum. That's going to be an intercooler in there? Or?
Yep. So I've had PWR build a large water-to-air core for it. So I've just been started to cut the ports out. Taking all the old butterflies out.
Yep.
We're just going to make it into one large port on each side.
Yeah, good idea. I'm not sure how you'd run an intercooler, an air-to-air unit. So maybe across the top of the roof. Where are you going to run the exhaust? Up through there? Or are you going to have it come out through the back here?
Probably. For straight driving, obviously you have to have a muffler of some sort on it. I would like to just basically go straight out the body. One out there, the two wastegates. Have them all coming out like 3. So this would be one big teardrop and like maybe 2 or...
Yeah.
I don't know, I can't decide. Or we're going to run it down, them down, and just have it maybe here. Like a teardrop, and one big teardrop. I made all the manifold. That's a proper T4 split housing. I did do it in the larger runner. But yeah, being a parallel 4-link car, it should be really well set up. I think I'll have
this thing
an unreal amount of grip.
Oh, this will be ridiculous.
You can set it up for separation on the back, which be very different to your normal mid-engine IRS car anyway.
What size axles? They look pretty big.
35 spine.
Yeah.
It's got Race Products, 35 spine floater kit. We always use their products. They're a really good company to deal with.
What are you going to do with the electronics side of this?
I was talking to Michael at Quick Bits Sticks. He's probably going to deal with that side of it for me. He's thinking about going the M-Tron.
Oh, yeah.
Because I do want to run torque management and everything. Yeah, normally this whole clamshell, like the whole back tilt, so we're just going to make this section's going to be bolted on.
Oh, it's going to tilt backwards?
Yeah, it normally tilts, the whole thing. This was all one piece with this top, but I'm making that as the part that goes there. There's a lot of guys that have had problems with their Ultimas breaking the hinges, and the whole back of the car comes off.
Hey, you pull that off, you've got pretty good access to work on it, haven't you?
Yeah, really good.
Really good.
So I've got all the tanks are out at the moment, but I've got dual tanks, so one each side. And that is a factory Ultima thing. They have dual tanks in them. So this one I'll run E85 and I can do a methanol tank and run it between. So this will have like a Bakelite spacer plate with nitrous ports in it and everything in the bottom, and the second set of injectors, so we can stage the injectors and bring methanol in.
What do you reckon the weight balance is going to be front to back?
I honestly have no idea. I can nearly deadlift the front of the car with the front off. So it is really light in the front. I'll actually probably have to put some ballast into it later, I think.
I guess the number one question most people would have is basically how do you get the drive to the back?
How does it work?
And you've...
So I have made it up. I did it all in just a 2D format just to prove the concept, made it all work. Obviously far cheaper to build it out of timber. A nice big...
Still, this looks like you've spent a fair bit of time on this.
Yeah, just sort of mucking around. So I did everything. So the actual adapter plate on the car itself, I'm not sure if you can see it from that side, maybe on this side. You might see it is in a 2-piece down here. This is a rough mock-up of how the adapter actually does work in the car like that. So this back one is a sandwich plate, so that all countersinks to the back of the motor. Runs a factory Ford starter motor, flex plate, everything in there. And then, so off the back of the motor, if you're looking back at it, it's got a shaft, a 50mm spline shaft that's 100mm long that comes out off the back of the motor.
Yep.
And then there's a spline shaft that actually is in the back of the converter.
Yep. The
torque converter itself. So when the adapter is bolted on, sitting like that, it's got a shaft each side as a male with a spline. And then, so the actual transfer case itself, like I say, I've made it all in, it's all in multiple sandwich plates. So I made it to exactly how it's going to be. I made replica size for the bearings and everything. So when it's actually in the car, basically this has got the shafts hanging out each side, and then that slips on, that bolts over, and then you've got both shafts, and then all the gears actually works out to nearly about 3 of them. So the gear's about 38mm wide that's getting made for it.
So this is all in production at the moment?
Yep. And then basically the gear is broached with that internal spline so that they slip on, all the gears. It ends up having your 4 gears. And that obviously gets your reverse rotation, what I needed to, it's hard to do obviously there. And then the outer plate, it's obviously thicker, that's made up in the depot, but that's got bearings as well, so it all sandwiches together. And then it's got a wet bath. It'll just have a little facet oil pump. Breathers, oil cooler, all its own internal belt system. I have designed this actually to be able to do all-wheel drive if I do want.
I was just thinking that, if that's possible.
I've already done all the homework, and I do have more. I'm sure there'll be other people that'll see that now and go, oh, I'll go and make my own one. So I just hope that the gears and everything is going to be up to the RPM of the motor. I can't wait to hear it. I reckon it'll sound really cool. With all the straight cut gears. So, I did look at going like a helical cut gear. Obviously be a lot quieter than a straight cut gear. But then all the thrust, and then you would have like thrust potentially pushing the crank. Yes. You don't want that. So I need to have it where you're obviously not applying.
That can be a bit of an issue on these engines, can't it?
And let alone trying to actually have a bearing, any helical cut gears trying to drive apart, you don't need it pushing on the crank. They're very noisy car to drive anyway. You don't hear anything. You pretty much wear earmuffs. Even when it just had the small block Ford, you literally can't hear much. They do creak and groan. It's a fiberglass.
Yeah, it is what it is.
Kit car. They are what they are.
So you were saying, this is just a dummy engine.
Yep.
You're not sure whether you'll keep it 4 litre or a 3.8 or maybe the new 4.2.
Yeah, I'm thinking of the 4.2. Obviously, because the gear drive and everything on the front of this engine too is constant mesh, so it's with engine RPM, so I think the car in general will have a pretty unique sort of sound because it'll probably sound like a big Pro Charger just sitting there. It's constant engine RPM with the gears being a straight cut gear. So I don't want to have to turn the car too hard. I think I'd like to consider the 4.2, try and make the power easier, less RPM. In saying that, I don't need the torque because the car will be so light. I'm hoping that the car should come in under 950. Once most of all these have pulled the mould, it will be, majority of the body will be carbon. This is all fairly lightweight tube. The chassis is really light. Look, it just made sense to me. I very much would have loved to have had a V8.
Did you look at that option? Like maybe an LS or something?
Yeah, I did. Yep. Like I say, we did want to sort of do the rotary valve engine.
Yeah, tell us a bit about that.
That we've been developing, or my dad mainly.
Yeah.
We've done a rotary valve cylinder headed 408 Ford Windsor.
Okay.
I believe it's pretty much the only running one in the world. I did want to put that in this car, but with my feet it is hard to drive with a manual car. Hard when you're fitting a V8, you sort of got to go to a transaxle. Not many options for an automatic or a Tiptronic that could hold any power anyway, per se. There is a few guys doing some of the PDK Porsche gearboxes now. Seem to handle some pretty good power, but not the intended use of what I want. So
once set up, this would be a very good roll racing sort of car.
Yeah,
it?
yeah, it should be. Yeah. It should be really suited for that. I think it'll have a really good amount of grip on the street. A lot of people think it won't handle anymore. I still think different. I think it should still handle fine. Everybody thinks getting rid of the independent, going to a live axle car is a bad thing. If you know what you're doing with tunability on a 4-link
but hey, Leigh,
live axle car.
If it's written in the comments section on the internet, it's got to be true.
Yeah, well, that's it. So, but a live axle car, I believe you can probably make handle better. There is things of Watts linkage kits adjustable that you can actually make as a tuning device for your suspension. So yeah, AP brakes all round. Did stop really well. There you go, you can see how all the different materials and rags and everything made up in that front. Like I say, it's just for a mould.
Hey, it looks pretty good, you know. If you painted that,
yeah,
honestly, it'd look fine, wouldn't it?
Yeah, we'll be painting it this week, so we're actually going to put paint on it.
Yeah.
And then you can, as good as we get that, that's as good as your mould's going to come up.
You've done a stellar job. I reckon we'll have to film a part 2.
Yeah, absolutely.
Further into the build.
And yeah, hopefully we're going to sort of have a pretty good move on soon. So Scott's pretty hard into the body for me at the moment, trying to get it all done. So, and there's a big thing we have to keep going because it's got so many different materials in there.
Yeah.
Everything wants to move.
Oh yeah.
So we've got to do it reasonably quick. And I want to get Pat and Fran up at Race Glass. Hopefully they can do all the actual laying up all the carbon fibre and everything.
Well, I can't wait to go for a ride in it.
I think it'd probably definitely have to be the most out there Barra swap going on in the world.
I reckon.
I think just in general, just for an engine conversion in general, I think it's pretty out there, something different. I've had a good response from even people overseas, a lot of people in America, just with interest to the car.
Have other people with these cars done engine swaps with them, or they just keep the...
They mainly stick with there's a few guys doing Audi V10 swaps and things like that, but they're all generally, no one's sort of stepped out on a limb like this. Some of the guys that own Ultimas think I'm maybe a little bit silly for doing it, but proven to be one of the best handling cars in the world, but that's not what I want.
You don't build a car for other people?
No, that's it.
I love the windscreen.
Yeah, expensive.
I was just that's my first thought, where do you find one of those? How wide are these tyres?
390, 45,
Jeez.
15. It's a 15 rim. Those Max Dumsney Motorsport wheels.
Yeah, they look pretty good.
They're really good. He's good to deal with, easy to deal with.
Quite a few using these now.
Yeah, pretty much did them there and then on the spot for me. Just said the size. I got the barrels out. Pretty much weld them in on the spot while I waited there.
So you got
easy company to deal with.
Effectively got 800 millimeters of tread.
Yeah.
I think we're going to have some grip.
Yeah, they measure about 17.8 inches wide. So nearly 18 inches. But it will be fully engineered. Still got to have some torsional testing redone on it now. There is things, but I'm a big believer. If you can get it all engineered, do it properly. It is an expensive process in building any car. Good to have, good peace of mind to know that your car is properly engineered at the end.
But I see so many guys, they build cars and spend a lot of money on them.
Yep.
And then they go through hell a few years after they've finished the car trying to engineer it.
Yeah, absolutely. They'll sort of start on the wrong thing. You got to really, it's all about getting if you're going to go pretty wild, get the approval first.
Yeah.
You have to do it that way.
So Leigh, this is a good example of a well thought out car that many now say you can't get engineered, but you can.
Yep.
This is a 3 rotor in a little...
With all the firewall moved, which technically most of the time, if you ever do have a vehicle that has had the body number moved from its original spot, you can be deemed as an ICV, like an individually constructed vehicle, which then goes into lots of different problems for engineering. So you just have to go about it the right way. Get your engineer to approve it when it's a factory car, when they've viewed the body numbers.
Okay, yeah.
This one we did have to apply with Vic Roads to have the original numbers. These are normally got a flat shelf under there where the heater box and wipers and everything sit, and the body numbers on there, which we've applied to Vic Roads to have all the body numbers moved and put into a different position. And as soon as we got that approval, once we had the approval, then we can move on the car. But some people say, you're not allowed to build it once you've done it. You just have to do the right steps.
Yeah.
Do it the right way. Should be good. 20B NA. We could only go naturally aspirated, no turbo on this one. In saying that, a car like this, we've never.
I know.
Yeah, it's the guy wanted to originally put a 4-rotor in it. Too small a car. We talked him out of it pretty quick. A 20B NA, it'll be a really good, cool, fun little car. So he doesn't want to competitively race it or anything like this. It'll be just a nice little street cruiser.
Yep.
Sound tough. Wants to do a few shows. Will be an IFS front end in it. So getting rid of all the struts and everything. Be all smooth inner guards. Yeah, it should be a good little thing.